Hey everyone, Brian again from Thunder Sports and Fitness, and in this final and very important presentation, I'm going to be going over the cardiovascular plan, which if you're a client here, whether it be 2 days a week or unlimited, is something that you're going to have access to during the week. And the reason that I wanted to bring cardio equipment here, which I didn't have for the first 2 years I was open, is to one, give you an opportunity to do more. I know many clients are group training here 2 days a week and then doing very little outside of here for several reasons, but one of the major reasons is because you just didn't have the facilities, or you didn't have the equipment, or you didn't have the accountability to follow through and get more exercise in. And then also for unlimited clients, if you're training here 4 or 5 days a week and you're doing group training, you understand how difficult that is on the body. So there are times where you still want to train and you still should train, but you may want to do something that's a little less intense and something more cardiovascular, less weight-bearing activity to give yourself an opportunity to recover. And with the cardiovascular and the group training and the nutrition and all the lifestyle initiatives that you've been experiencing lately, I think we now have a really cohesive and complete program. So in the rest of this presentation, I'm going to be going over the details of the cardio program that everyone is going to get. Not to say that you have to take advantage of this, but anybody who requests the cardio plan and wants to do a little bit extra, or wants some variety in their overall plan, can certainly speak with me and get all the details on that. So here we go. Enjoy the rest of the presentation. So just a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about in today's presentation. I'm going to begin by going over your personalized cardio program. Now, chances are you may have this already. If not, you're going to be getting it very soon. But I use your age to determine what your maximum heart rate is, and then I give you a percentage of that heart rate to work at. So this is a heart rate based cardio plan, and you're going to progressively improve your fitness. So this program is good for at least the next 6 weeks, as long as you're continuing to check those heart rates as you're exercising and make sure you're working out in the proper zone. So I'll go over that. I'll go over the cardio tracking worksheet as well, which is a worksheet in your binder. You already have a bunch of those in your binder, but I'm going to show you exactly how to fill that out so that you're keeping track of your success, also holding yourself accountable for doing those workouts. And oftentimes it helps if you're making notes and jotting that stuff down to hold yourself accountable. And I'll also be checking in the binder occasionally as well, making sure that you're kind of holding true to your end of the bargain and filling out those forms and staying right on top of everything that you have to do. I'm going to show you a few videos inside of this presentation of myself performing the exercise. So I'll be doing the moderate day, the intense day, and then the very intense day to show you exactly what that looks like on a treadmill and also an exercise bike, so that it'll make it a little more clear and make it a little more understandable as to what type of intensity to look for, or how you should be feeling when you're doing these exercises on your own. So I'll give you a little bit of a demonstration of how these are done. And then I'll go over some initiatives at the very end for you to do. Just like every other presentation, at the very end I give you a few initiatives to work on for that week. And this is the last presentation, so by the end of this one you're going to have all the information you need to start really working towards your goals and seeing some serious results. So this is the cardio plan, and as you see up at the top of the screen here, I will put in your name. So your name will be at the top, your age, which is the number used to predict these heart rate ranges. So these are all based on the age that I put in at the top of the screen there. And then the starting date of the program. So as you can see here, you have 3 different days. You have your low intensity day, which is pretty much typically where most people spend the majority of their cardio time. With this program, this is where you're going to be spending the least amount of your time. So We don't really want to do a lot of this low intensity, slow, steady stuff. As you can see, it's moderate. The colors correspond with the intensity, so moderate intensity for someone that's 45 is going to be a very low heart rate, 120 to 138 beats per minute. This is where a lot of people spend the majority of their time, however, on the cardio equipment, just kind of hanging out there, reading a magazine or watching the television on the cardio equipment, which is kind of a long, slow walk to nowhere. You're not going to get quite as good results this way, but in the event that somebody is working out, 3, 4, 5 days a week on the cardio equipment, we definitely do want to build in some low intensity days to help them recover a little bit. So we call this kind of our recovery aerobic training. So we want to recover in between these two sessions, which in nature are very high intensity as compared to this one at the top here. So pretty much how you perform this is you're just going to go low or moderate intensity for a total of 25 to 35 minutes, and that's it. You're just kind of sustaining a very static heart rate somewhere in between these two numbers, 120 to 138. But you'll have different numbers on your form based on your age. Now in workout 2, this is the medium intensity day. So as you can see, this is called interval training. So you're going to spend about 5 minutes warming up at your moderate pace, at your moderate intensity. So something that, starts increasing the heart rate to some degree, but you're not by any means breathing heavily or having labored breath or anything like that. It shouldn't feel like it's very difficult to do. And then for a 3-minute period, you're going to increase the intensity for 3 minutes, and that's going to correspond with the heart rates right here next to that yellow bar. So 147 to 156 for this person, Jane Doe. And then after that 3-minute period, at the very end, you're going to do a peak 30-second sprint interval where your heart rate is going to come up all the way up top for this person, 164 to their max. So for the last 30 seconds of that interval, you're really increasing the height of the ramp on the treadmill. You're also increasing the speed, trying to get your heart rate really highly elevated so that by the time that 30 seconds is over, you're really looking forward to this 3-minute recovery period at the end. So you're going to go all the way back down to moderate intensity and just kind of spend a few minutes recovering and getting your breath back in. All right, so you complete that 2 to 3 times. So you're going to go through this interval. This is one interval right here, 3 minutes hard, 30 seconds very hard, and then a 3-minute recovery. That's one interval. You do not count the warm-up in the interval. So 3 minutes, 30 seconds, 3 minutes. That's one interval. You've got 2 or 3 of those. And the total workout time is about 20 to 30 minutes based on how many you choose to do. And then lastly, your high intensity day. You're going to do interval training again. At this point, you have 30-second bursts of really high intensity exercise. So really trying to get your heart rate up. A lot of height on the ramp and some speed. You may be power walking or you may even be jogging or running, but you're trying to get your heart rate up really high by the end of that 30 seconds. When you stop and you are recovering in this 2-minute period, for about the first 30 seconds of that rest, you should be still breathing heavily with your mouth open. You really want to have to use that 2-minute recovery to get that whole 2-minute recovery to get your heart rate all the way back down and to get your breathing rate back to normal. And then as soon as that happens, bang, there you go, right again, back up to that 30-second sprint interval, and then another 2-minute recovery. And then one final 30-second sprint interval, and then a long 3-minute recovery. All right, so that is one interval. One interval is all of this, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, 3 minutes. That's one interval. You're going to do that 2 or 3 times through that entire sequence, minus the warm-up, not counting this, but 2 or 3 times through that entire sequence. And this workout also lasts about 20 to 30 minutes. All right, so how you do this is if you're exercising 2 days a week on cardio equipment all by yourself, I'm going to encourage you to do day 2 and day 3 and leave day 1 alone. Leave workout 1 alone. If you're doing 3 days a week, then you're going to just alternate between all 3 of these. So do your low intensity on Monday, for example, your medium intensity on Wednesday, and your high intensity on Friday or Saturday. That's how I would kind of set up a 3-day routine using this plan. And if you go 4 or even 5 days a week, just rotate through these 3 days. So this could be Monday, Tuesday, maybe you're off Wednesday, Thursday you do the high intensity day, and then Friday back up here to low intensity, and Saturday or Sunday the medium intensity. So you just kind of alternate and rotate through these 3 different workouts. A couple of notes, a couple of tips up here at the very top. Use as many different types of cardio equipment as possible. If you are using cardio equipment, it's always best not to get real comfortable on the same piece of equipment. You'll find that it's a little bit easier to get your heart rate up on certain equipment as opposed to other equipment, but try not to get too comfortable. You really want to push it, especially on those interval days, and try to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And then lastly, you're going to need to increase the intensity, and you can do that in a few ways, especially on a treadmill. You can adjust the speed and or the grade, the level, the ramp height. So just make sure you're getting a good combination between the grade on the treadmill and also your speed so that you can achieve those top level heart rates. And I'll show you again, like I said, I'll show you myself doing these things on a bike and also a treadmill later on in this presentation. So now you are looking at the cardio log. So this is the log that you're going to use to track your cardiovascular exercise. So your name is just going to go up here at the top. You'll put the week that you're in. Just put the 2 dates of the week that you're in. It's also in your binder and broken up by week as well. But all you do to fill this out is just select or circle the day that you did. So low intensity day, the total time that you did or that you spent on the equipment, 30 minutes. 30 minutes. If you have a machine that counts calories for you, or you're wearing a heart rate monitor or something like that, then you can certainly put in the amount of calories that you burn while you're on the equipment. But you really don't need to spend too much time worrying about calories in your nutrition plan. I already adjusted your nutrition for the exercise, so you just have to make sure that you know how much to be eating on those days. On the days that you exercise for over an hour, you're probably going to want a little bit more nutrition on those days. If this is the only thing you did all day, the low intensity exercise for 30 minutes, and you only burned through 200 calories, then you're not going to want to follow your high nutrition intake day. I mean, you're going to be overeating if you do that. But on the days where you're strength training with me, definitely follow the higher level day. Or on days that you do your really high intensity cardio, you're probably going to want to, if you do 30 minutes of this, you've probably burnt, a few more calories than you will on the low intensity day. So you're probably going to want to eat a little bit more that day to kind of account for that. And then lastly, overall feeling. How did you feel at the very end of that workout? Did you feel like it was incredibly easy? If so, I'm going to have to give you a harder plan. Or did you feel like it was too extreme? So 10 is highly extreme. I'm not really encouraging you to put 10s in here, but ideally I'd like you to put, on the low intensity day, it should probably feel like a 5. On the high intensity day, it may feel like a 7 or an 8. So I'm trying to avoid 10s. I don't really want you to put a 10 in there because that means it's probably too much. And anything below a 5 is probably a little too easy. So you should be looking for anywhere between like 5 and 8 or 5 and 9 when you're filling out this form. But down here you have a little spot for comments. Anything that kind of stuck out to you during the workout, or anything that you want to make a note of to remind yourself of in the future.
You can just make notes down there. But in a nutshell, that's just how you're going to use that cardio log. Nice and simple. It just helps you stay honest for your exercise, for your cardiovascular exercise, and also allows me to kind of follow up and hold you accountable as well by using these forms.
So I'm going to start with a treadmill. I'm just going to show you day one at first. This is the low intensity cardio day. So if you look at your cardio program, you're going to see a couple of heart rates. And it's just considered moderate intensity. So you're just going to stay at the same heart rate in between that range for the entire time, whether it be 20 to 30 minutes or all the way up to 45 minutes. You're just going to kind of hang out in that steady state heart rate. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that now on a treadmill. Alright, so I just finished about 5 minutes on the treadmill at about a moderate heart rate, and this is my low intensity day. My heart rate got up to about 125, 130 beats per minute, and I was able to kind of maintain that effort without really feeling exhausted. That's kind of how you want that moderate day to feel, like you know, you just have to take a sigh, you know, every 3 to 5 minutes, just take an additional breath, just a sigh to kind of get a little bit of extra oxygen in there, but shouldn't be out of breath by any means. Okay, so now I'm going to show you day two, which is an interval training day. This is considered medium intensity. So I've got a long interval at kind of a modest heart rate. I'm definitely above my moderate zone, but I'm doing a long interval at a pretty reasonable heart rate. I'm definitely going to have my heart rate up a bit so that my breathing rate has elevated. And then I'm going to finish that off with a 30-second burst at the end, which is going to be really high intensity. And by the time I'm done with that interval, you're definitely going to notice that there's a noticeable difference in the breathing rate. I'm going to be breathing heavy out of the mouth, and that's kind of what you're looking for on that medium intensity day, especially at the end of that 30-second period of exercise. So I just finished my long 3-minute interval, followed by the 30-second burst at the end. Breathing heavily out of the mouth. Having a hard time talking to you right now. But that's definitely how that should look. Definitely looking forward to that long recovery period before I have to do that again. So finally, I'm going to show you the high intensity interval training day. This is a really tough one. I've got 30 seconds on, and depending on which level you're on, you could have 2 minutes off or less in between bouts of exercise. So this is going to be really intense. By the time that rest period's over, I should just be returning back down to my normal heart rate and feeling pretty recovered. And before I know it, I'm going to be back up to that 30-second interval. And I'm going to accomplish that by either standing on the bike, or I'm going to have to increase the speed and also the ramp height on my treadmill so I can accomplish that heart rate way up top of my zone. So by the end of that 30-second interval, probably about halfway through it, you're going to notice some noticeably different breathing patterns. And by the end of it, you should be ready for that rest period. So here we go. So I just did one of those 30-second intervals on the high-intensity day, day 3. I was sprinting at about 8.5 miles an hour, going up about 4% incline, and then I reduced the intensity back down to my moderate intensity and just walked it off for about a half a minute or so and caught my breath. But that's the intensity you want to do on that high-intensity day. Just periods of really hard work. You got the breathing rate extremely high, and then periods of really low intensity work, just trying to get the breath back in and trying to recover your heart rate back down close to 100 before you start that next interval. You're definitely not going to start the next interval before you're fully recovered, but the goal is to try to recover as best as you can before you start that next one so that you're ready to hit it hard in that 30 seconds again.
So now that you've got a better understanding on how to perform each one of the cardio days, here are a few initiatives to work on. So first, download either the advanced or the beginner level cardio program. You can find a lot of those forms at the bottom of this video. If you need help with this step, I can certainly help you out with that. But if you do want to do it on your own, it's as simple as just putting your age in the top column, or I'm sorry, your name in the top column, your age in the second one, and the starting date in the third one. And then that form actually automatically inputs your heart rates. So that's how you edit the form. And then you can simply print it and you'll be ready to go. I can easily help you out with that step as well. And then the second part, plan these cardio workouts in advance, just the same way that you plan your visits to come down and see me 2 days a week, or 3 or 4 or 5, what have you. Do the same thing with your cardio workouts. So pick some days, whether it be directly after a group training session, which certainly can be done, or on an off day from a group training session. And just kind of map out your weekly workout schedule so that you're putting everything in there in advance, and you know exactly what to plan for, and you have a solid base set up for yourself. Update your 3 big rocks and your goals if you need to. You have a little bit more information at this point. So if you need to do any updating, or maybe you haven't even finished your 3 big rocks yet, and maybe doing some extra cardiovascular exercise during the week is going to take up one of those spaces, go ahead and take a look at that now. And then lastly, you have all the education and the tools necessary to get a really solid start here. So let's make it happen. You guys have a support group in each other. You have me. Don't be afraid to ask me for anything that you need. That's why I'm here, and that's essentially why I'm trying to give you the support that I'm trying to give you, because I think this is the only and the best way that this whole thing really works. So don't be afraid to lean on your group mates. Don't be afraid to lean on me when you're having some troubles or questions or feeling unmotivated. We're all in this together.